Welcome to RAD Real Adventure Discovery. Today's adventure is from Cajon Pass in California, down and through the mountain, over to Lytle Creek. So hopefully today I'll have enough battery life. The trails up here in the desert can get pretty sandy, and with the high desert winds. So most of the time, I keep the electric bike in pedal assist mode 2, and that keeps me right around 12 and a half miles per hour. The extended battery range, if I keep it in pedal assist 2, I can get 65 to 80 miles on a charge. Some of the highlights for today will include overview of the Cajon Pass and the Interstate 15 crossing. Other highlights of the adventure today will include an old rail car that was abandoned after a train wreck. Really spectacular views along the rail track as we cross over towards Lost Lake. The spectacular views are of the Mormon mounds. As I mentioned, Lost Lake will be just around the other side before crossing over the bigger mountain range that leads to Lytle Creek. It comes out right along the campground there in Lytle Creek. Connects to the main power line road. Just a little bit closer to the pass area here, which is where my destination was, so I'm trying to save a little bit of battery. You'll see the trail we're going to take is 3N21. This viewpoint overlooks all of Cajon Pass area. In the front here, in the forefront, you see the I-15 South, of course with gridlock traffic. And beyond that, you see I-15 North, just before they go up the steep grade of the Cajon Pass. And in the distance, you'll see Highway 138. just beyond the traffic in the first set of hills, you'll see the Mormon mounds. It's a really nice view. The road you see just in the distance is a paved road, and that road actually goes up to Wrightwood, tucked in between those mountains on the right. And actually Lost Lake, you can turn on a dirt road on the other side of that paved road right there, turn left onto a dirt road, go about 2 miles down to Lost Lake, and the traffic's really heavy. A lot of people try to cut through the dirt roads and back roads anywhere they can to try to avoid the traffic. Right here, take you underneath I-15. I decided to take this route and stay on the west side of I-15, mainly because it's an easier route to get to the rail car that I mentioned. Nice little viewpoint up top here. See where we came from. Tower line towered at the top of the path there. Came on down the pathway around through here. very pretty. And you can see there's a bunch of trash, graffiti. But back in 1996, there was a really bad train wreck coming down the Cajon Pass. There was a documentary done on it. There's just not enough engines for braking power based on the number of cars. And I believe it was miscalculation on how much weight they had, and kilos versus pounds. The translation was done improperly. They didn't have enough braking power. A couple people that were here, I believe, fighting the fire that ensued after the wreck, and all the cars piled up through this area. A couple of people perished, and there's a memorial up ahead for those folks. The engineer of the train, at some point, he leaped from the train coming down the Cajon Pass on the steeper part. I believe he leaped at 55 to 60 miles per hour. The train was Runaway and nothing he could do, and he survived. But one of the cars has been here ever since. As I mentioned, in 1996, I was actually coming home from a late night graveyard shift from work. I live up in the high desert here, and I was detoured by the highway patrol off at 138 from the I-15 northbound. Wasn't a whole lot there, but I remember seeing a big plume cloud in the sky, and it was about 3:30 a.m. in the morning as I was coming home from work, and a big fireball in the sky. I didn't know it at the time, but there were hazardous material on some of those cars that ignited and burned. So it was a really, really tragic event. Up ahead we'll see a memorial for folks who perished during that fire event. The memorial first, and then we'll go across on the other detour right here. Borrego. I remember the day that this happened. As I mentioned earlier, I was right over there off Highway 138, trying to get home from work. These guys, probably right as that happened, were rushing to get here and fire. The only thing out here at that time mostly was just a 76 gas station. As I made the interchange at 215 and 15, I could see a mushroom cloud of flame and smoke in the sky. It was really big. The only thing I could imagine at that time was that the 76 gas station was on fire or blew up or something like that. It wasn't until I got to the detour at Highway 138 that I realized it was in the distance and it was related to the train. I didn't know it was a derailment at the time. There used to be a cement barrier to cross from that side. But it was removed. And so the other side of the sandy wash goes down underneath Highway 138 as well. But it kind of dead ends down into the riverbed down at the other end, which we'll see along the pathway. So there's a few routes to take. You can go up this way, parallel the track, comes back down, and then it goes back up. Or you could stay along this path, and it'll take you around to the railroad crossing. This is one of the highlights of the trip. At least I think so. The Mormon mounds extend from the other side of Highway 138 on the north side all the way across through the Cajon Pass region. We're going to take a little detour here and see the little river crossing that leads over to Cleghorn. Sometimes the river's flowing pretty deep, so we'll have to see how deep it is today and if we're able to cross it. It looks all right. There's a railroad crossing right there that loops you around onto the roadway right here. And it comes in from Cleghorn right there. This is the route you would take if you were trying to get over to these off-road trails. This stream goes a ways back there. If you're on foot or maybe on a mountain bike, you could get through under the area there, back under Highway 138 by all the service stations and McDonald's and that. If you're in a wide vehicle like a Jeep or something, it might be a little difficult to get through there. They're single track pathways. A Jeep probably would have a struggle. So I'm going to come back to our original route here. We're going to come up this ridge and we're going to cross the railroad tracks. And then we're going to parallel the railroad tracks and we're going to come around to, I believe it's called Swarthout Canyon. There's a turnout across this ridge that will take you to Lost Lake. Oftentimes the gate is locked shut. Well, looks like my fender is coming apart. So I'm gonna have to find a way to reattach it. Hopefully I'm able to do that. So hopefully this works. We'll see. Pathway to Lytle Creek goes up that ridge. We're going to make a short stop up here at Lost Lake. Here's Lost Lake. They used to have a restroom facility here. They also had a little information board, but it was full of graffiti. During the lockdown time, arriving at Lost Lake here. Lost Lake is like a little oasis here in the desert, in the middle of Cajon Pass. It's actually a sag pond, which is a low point along the San Andreas Fault, where the water in the lake here actually comes up through a crease in the earth from the San Andreas Fault line and creates a sag pond. So the water's really nice and cold in here. So really nice to go swimming or just soak your feet and cool off in the summertime. You can look back up that canyon. That direction there is the direction that the San Andreas Fault line goes. That goes back up towards Wrightwood, California. There's two dirt roads that cross over these mountains and go over to Lytle Creek. One is a little ways further down the dirt road here to the left, tucked away around in that canyon near just beyond where you see that cross on the ridge there by the power lines. And the other way is over here, and this is probably the shortest route, Applewhite Drive. These little posts and this gate right here were put in because they have had landslides in this area, but mainly up further ahead where this road will be closed from time to time when rock and landslides happen and block the roadway, and it's unsafe to cross. And there below you can see Glen Helen, where the Glen Helen Amphitheater is. And if you look off in the distance, you might be able to see some grain silos for the milling company that's down there just at the bottom part of the hills in the center. Well, I don't have a Pro Edition mountain bike with a high wattage motor, so I've got a 1,000 watt motor with a 1200 peak watts. So if I push it too hard and too steep, I may have to walk for a little ways to let the motor cool itself down. But we'll see how far I get with the pedal assist. There's a few more of those before I reach the top. And there we go. That's the sound of the motor telling you it needs a break.